Basketball season is upon us. Will Montana State and Eastern Washington defend their tournament titles, or will we crown a new champion? The road to Boise begins now. Welcome to Big Sky Basketball Tip-Off presented by Idaho Central Credit Union. Welcome into Big Sky Tip-Off. I'm your host, Megan Robinson. Our focus today is the Idaho State Bengals. The women's team kicked off their season over the summer with a trip to Paris. While in France, they played exhibition games, saw the sights, and of course enjoyed some French cuisine. Joining me now are head coach Seton Sobolewski and Sophie Cavello with the highlights of that trip. Idaho State had an exciting summer. You guys traveled to Paris for some exhibition games to see the sights. What did you learn about your team through their exhibition play?
I'll tell you what, the style of play internationally is a lot different than what we're used to over here. They play a faster game with 24-second shot clock. The defensive concepts and the things they did were interesting and different. They made us adjust a lot on the fly, just because we weren't quite as prepared for some of the things. I'm really proud of how we did adjust and how we were able to speed some things up and still be pretty effective.
Sophia, how will playing against that different style of play against European teams help you guys when you come into conference and non-conference play in just a few weeks?
I think, like Coach was saying, they played different, so it allowed us to have to adapt to that style of play quickly, and I think we showed that we were able to do that, which will help us coming up with season.
Coach, outside of basketball, what was the best part of that trip?
Just an amazing history of France and Paris and Europe in general. You learn that, United States, America is a very, very young country compared to the rest of the world. The history that are in some of these other places is just incredible. The art, the prep for the Olympics that we got to see, I mean, it was just something so unique and different.
My favorite part was just being there with my team and experience that with all my best friends. Seeing the Eiffel Tower, seeing it light up at night, all that was really amazing.
Paris, of course, is known for their amazing food. What was the best thing each of you ate while you were over there in France? Coach, I'll start with you.
Yeah. They have really good crepes, obviously. And it's just everything is every meal is a big deal. We actually did get to try escargot. It was surprisingly really good. The way they prepared it with the garlic and the butter.
I was also going to say I loved the snails. I did not think I was going to like them, but I could eat a whole plate of the snails. They were very good.
Bringing it back to basketball, though, talking Paris, we could go on all day. But, Coach, you're entering your 16th season at the helm of the Idaho State Bengals. When you think about all you've accomplished in Pocatello, what are some of the highlights that stand out to you?
Well, your first championship is always the most special, when we won back in 2012. And then the two to follow are great. As I get a little bit older, the things that I really get a kick out of are the weddings and the birth announcements. And we have a Big 50 reunion coming up here in a couple of weeks, and we'll have 70 plus former players and coaches coming back. And I'm just so excited to check in with everybody on how the rest of their lives are going.
Sophia, when you hear your coach talk about being excited for birth announcements and wedding invites from your players and not the on-court things, what does that mean to you?
I think it means that he really takes time to get to know his players, and his players respect him so much that they want to invite him back to their weddings, and they're coming back for the reunion. So it just shows that he's really able to connect with his players.
Sophia, we talked about your coach's accomplishments and some of the highlights over his career. You haven't been there 16 years, that would not be allowed. But when you think about this upcoming season, what do you hope to accomplish this year?
I mean, I hope that we are able to come back healthy. We've dealt with some injuries the past 2 years, so I think this season we're looking strong and hopefully we're able to stay healthy. And I think that will allow us to have a successful season.
After the break, hear from the Idaho State men's team.
We focus on youth sports because we truly believe that youth are the foundation of Montana's future. I think nothing improves your mental health and well-being and your physical health and well-being than being outside, active, talking to other people, and socializing in an environment like that. Learning teamwork, learning leadership skills, resiliency. As a company, we're deeply invested in our communities, not just our members.
Welcome back to Big Sky Tip-Off. I'm Megan Robinson. This offseason, the Bengals added a few new coaches to their men's staff. Plus, their players were recognized for their hard work in the classroom. I'd like to welcome in head coach Ryan Looney and AJ Bergen to the show to discuss an eventful summer. Coach, in the offseason, your team received the National Association of Basketball Coaches Team Academic Excellence Award. You also placed 4 Bengals on the honors court. As a coach, what's it like to have your team recognized for their accomplishments in the classroom and off the court?
Well, we want to push them in every area of their life, prepare them for life after basketball, want their habits to be great in everything that they're doing. So we take a lot of pride in trying to help them become the best basketball player they can be, but also the best student, literally the best person they can be by the time they leave us.
AJ, you were one of those players named to the NABC honors court. What are the keys to balancing the responsibilities of being a D1 athlete with the responsibilities of being a student in the classroom?
I think first, just recognizing what everyone says, we're student athletes, student comes first. Yeah, we may be traveling and doing all the stuff on the court, but off the court, we need to stay eligible. I feel like my parents did a great job instilling that hard work ethic in me, but it's just crucial, basketball, eventually the ball stops bouncing and, we have our careers outside of that. So just locking in and staying in the classroom and doing well, exceeding like our program is, it's great for the long run.
Coach, we mentioned AJ's accomplishments in the classroom. How have you seen him grow as a player during his time in Pocatello?
Yeah, he's kind of rare right now in college men's basketball. Not many guys are sticking around where they started for 4 years. So we're grateful for AJ's loyalty to the program. It's obviously put him in a place as a senior where he's extremely comfortable. He's vocal in practice in our workouts every day. He has slowly over the course of his career become a better and better defender. So we're expecting big things from him on that end of the floor this year. And then I think if you can go back and look through statistics, he's becoming a more efficient offensive player for us as well. And I think if you were to ask him the same questions, he might mention some of the same things. I think for the first time in a long career, this is probably the most comfortable he feels with maybe what his role will look like by the time we get to game day.
AJ, I'm not going to make you talk about yourself on the court. I know guys don't always love that. I am going to ask you about some things off the court. And I heard that you have some secret talents, a hidden talent. What is it?
Well, first one that comes to mind, I guess, is musically. I know how to play 3 instruments, piano, saxophone, and the violin. I know how to play them. I'm not the best at them, but if you hand them to me, I can definitely play a song or two. And then besides that, I'm actually really good at origami. Really random, but like in 2nd grade, my aunt got me an origami book from Barnes and Nobles, and I just memorized every single origami in there, and I've just built on that talent, I guess, since.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's really random.
It's so I love it.
Yeah.
I love it though, Coach. Okay, you have a musician and an origami artist. Is that what you'd call it?
I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine.
I think he's probably the most well-rounded player in the Big Sky.
Well, Coach, I was going to ask you. We know AJ's hidden talents. What are your hidden talents?
I don't know if I have any, to be honest. Maybe I can let AJ answer that question. Spend a lot of time with basketball and my family. I will say I got a ball handling trick that I can display at any moment in the gym that's better than any player on our team.
Have you seen this, AJ, this ball handling trick?
Yeah, he's really proud of it. He brings it out anytime he gets the chance.
Summer camp every year is a great time.
Yeah, he basically lies on his back and like flutters his legs in the air and throws a ball between it. It's really hard to explain, but watching it is kind of crazy.
Coming up, Coulter Nuanez and Krista Redpath join the show to give us a breakdown of Big Sky basketball.
We never set out to be the largest casino resort in the Pacific Northwest. We just wanted to be the best. But we forgot that being the best means more guests wanting more action, more jackpots, more big-name entertainment, more pedicures. Well, more everything. Until one day, you look up and realize, we need a new hotel tower. The new River Tower, to be exact. Northern Quest in Spokane, Washington. Now the largest. And yes, still the best.
Welcome back to Big Sky Tip-Off. I'm Megan Robinson, joined now by two of our Big Sky basketball analysts, Krista Redpath and Coulter Nuanez. Guys, let's just get right to it. What were your initial thoughts on the Big Sky basketball preseason rankings? Coulter, I'll go to you first.
It's interesting when you analyze the men's league because there's so few returners these last couple of years. That's sort of a symptom of where we're at in Division I college basketball. But the one school that has had returners two off seasons in a row has been Montana, and I think that that's reflected when you look at the polls. Last year they returned 6 guys, which is an unheard of number for mid-major teams, and this year they have a couple stalwarts coming back, led by Brandon Whitney, who's going to be sort of an unprecedented 5th-year starter there at Montana.
I wasn't shocked on the women's side. I really expected NAU to come out on top when you look at the fact that they played in the conference championship the last 3 years. They return a nucleus of players led by preseason MVP Sophie Glancy and also Leah Beatty at the guard position. Returning both the Moran sisters, and you mix in a Taylor Feldman and a Sanaya Neverson. And I look at NAU just having that nucleus back, but also just a year of maturity under their belt. And so I wasn't shocked by that. I look at the Montana schools battling out, both Montana State and Montana. When you take a look at Montana State, they also were faced with injuries last year, but this year, with the transfer of Esmeralda Morales, as well as Lexi Deedon possibly coming back from this ACL, they're loaded. They're locked and loaded.
Montana State men have reached 3 consecutive NCAA tournaments after winning 3 Big Sky tournament titles. Who would be the dark horse on the men's side to maybe dethrone the Bobcats?
First of all, I thought it was interesting that Montana State got so much love in the preseason polls because they do lose a lot. Of course, they return Brian Garacki, they return Brandon Walker, but Robert Ford was the heart and soul of that team. So he's certainly going to be tough to replace. I actually probably would have said that Montana State would have been one of my dark horses if they weren't so highly rated in the preseason polls, but they got a whole bunch of respect in the preseason polls. One team that Krista and I actually previewed on our series Big Sky Hoops Hits 2 weeks ago is Northern Arizona on the men's side. I think that they have more continuity than a lot of the other teams in the league. You look at Trenton McLaughlin, who's leading returning scorer in the league, really, really talented guy. You look at Carson Tout, he's my kind of player. I mean, he's the guy that could fit in on every single team in the Big Sky Conference. He doesn't need to shoot it. He doesn't need to dribble it. He just sets screens and rebounds and plays defense. Northern Arizona, I know, was picked in the middle of the league, but I think they could definitely make some noise. They proved it last year. I mean, they beat every good team in the league at least once. They just have to figure out a way to sweep some of those good teams to get into that top third of the league standings.
Coulter, you just brought up Trent McLaughlin from NAU. He, of course, is the preseason MVP in the Big Sky. Krista, you mentioned Sophie Clancy, the women's MVP. I'll start with you, Krista. Did the voters get it right choosing those 2 Lumberjacks as our preseason MVPs?
Well, I think they definitely did. When you look at these players and what they have contributed to the Big Sky, and of course I can allude to Sophie Glancy just being a force down low. I mean, she was a unanimous first team All Big Sky Conference selection last year. Her physical skills, strength, agility, quickness around the basket. She really separated herself.
On the men's side, I think you could have got a variety of different ways, but Trent McLaughlin's certainly a worthy candidate, no doubt. It's a great story there at NAU too. First of all, they've poured a bunch of money into athletics, which I think is benefiting them a bunch. You've seen both their basketball programs get better, but also the McLaughlin brothers are one of the great stories in the Big Sky, right? Like Alex McLaughlin's one of the best football players in the conference. Trent, his older brother, one of the best basketball players in the conference. And you have to think that both those guys probably had opportunities to go elsewhere. They didn't because they're there together. That's a cool story. So hopefully that resonates with people.
Krista and Culture, we know NAU women, Montana, and Montana State men are the favorites in both the coaches and the media polls to win the Big Sky Conference this year. Krista, I will go to you first. Who are you picking to win the Big Sky Conference? Give me both your men's and women's picks.
Well, I definitely had NAU to win, with the Montana schools really coming in hot. And on the men's side as well, I think Coach DeCure has done a fantastic job bringing in some really great transfers, but also building around Brandon Whitney. I mean, he's one of the only Grizz players to average double figures for all 4 of his years playing for Montana, just a veteran guard. I also think with the transfer of Patterson from Sac State at the guard position, Montana definitely has all the weapons to look like they are in the forefront to win the Big Sky.
I picked Montana State. And the reason I picked Montana State is I think that Tricia Binford has established herself as the most consistent and best coach in the conference. I thought last year was one of her best coaching jobs. I remember a post that they had on their Instagram page of their bench celebrating, and their bench was KJ Lamardo and Taylor Jansen and Lexi Deedon and all these all-league caliber players that were all hurt. And Tricia Binford got through that season, and they made a run at it. I mean, they were in the semifinals last year. They finished 4th, even though they had more injury bad luck than I've ever seen. You bring all that back, you bring in Esmeralda Morales, and I just think they have a chance to be a really special team. On the men's side, I voted for Montana just because they have the most returners, but I think it's so wide open with all these new players and so many new roster complexions throughout the league. We really just won't know. It's going to take till February until these teams really coalesce. They really start working the ball around and playing together. And look at what happened last year. I mean, Montana State was up and down all year long. But then they coalesced and they played so well down the stretch. And then they had one of the great tournament runs we have ever seen. So that's what it's going to take. Who comes together at the end? Who plays down the stretch? Travis DeCure has proven he can get his team to do that at Montana. Matt Logie, same thing at Montana State. And I think there's a couple other coaches like Eric Duft at Weber and Steve Smiley at Northern Colorado that have proven that as well. So who can get their team to come together? Even though I voted for Montana, I think the men's side is wide open.
Krista, Coulter, less than 5 months, and we will see who is crowned a new champion up in Boise. Can't wait to see you both at that tournament. Still to come, what can fans expect from our championship week? Our friends from Visit Boise stopped by to share all the city has to offer.
Yeah, definitely. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. See you next week.
Bye.
All right. Thanks. All right. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Welcome back to Big Sky Basketball Tip-Off. I'm Megan Robinson. Our tournament is in Boise every year, so who better to have on the show than someone from Visit Boise, Lucas Gebhardt. The tournament has been in Boise since 2019. What impact does the Big Sky Basketball Tournament have on the city of Boise?
We think it's about a $6.5 million total economic impact to the city. And so that what we mean by that is all the hotel spending, all of the money that's spent at restaurants and shops and ticket sales and things like that. We think about 13,000 people or so go to the tournament. That includes local fans as well as fans that are traveling to Boise. And we think about 4,300 fans or so travel to Boise to watch this tournament from the various Big Sky markets. So it definitely has a huge impact for the city, and we're excited to have it once again in 25.
For those who have not been to Boise, like myself, what kinds of things can they expect to do there outside of the tournament?
The cool part about our tournament is all the fans can stay in our downtown hotels and be walking distance from the game. So if you fly, you don't have to rent a car. Our airport's 7 minutes, our downtown is 7 minutes away from our airport. We have tons of great outdoor recreation activities. We have a 30-mile long bike trail that runs along our river, both sides of our river. We also have tons of hot springs that are within a couple hours drive of Boise. Some are under an hour from Boise. We have a great wine country that's about 45 minutes outside of downtown as well. So Idaho's got some really underrated wine that we definitely want people to check out if they end up coming here. We were rated by National Geographic as one of the best in the world destinations to visit in 2025. So that's something that we just got awarded. We're pretty excited about that. So we got lots of things to do here, whether it's our great restaurant scene or outdoor recreation or just the walkable and accessibility to all the things to do in our downtown.
One of the big things that people want to know when they go to a new city is, where are some of the restaurants that I must try?
Some of the best restaurants in town are some of our Basque restaurants. We have an entire block in our downtown that's dedicated to that Basque culture and that Basque heritage. We also have a restaurant in downtown called Kin that their chef just won a James Beard Award. That's the first James Beard Award that any restaurant or chef in our city has won. So that's something else that we're pretty excited about.
I can't wait to get up there and experience Boise in a few months for myself. And I appreciate you taking time to put a spotlight on your city.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for previewing the season with me on Big Sky Basketball Tip-Off presented by Idaho Central Credit Union. I'm your host, Megan Robinson, and I can't wait to see you all in Boise in March.